Hello Flosstube, I'm Sarah and welcome to Sew Me Sarah, my channel all about cross stitch and sometimes some other needle crafts. You are most welcome here on my channel, and today is Tuesday the 26th of July 2022. Thank you to those of you who always join me, who return fortnight after fortnight, mostly to see what I've been up to and share with me and join in the community here on Sew Me Sarah. If you are new here, I do hope that you will hang around. I hope that you will enjoy being part of the community here and that you will choose to subscribe and keep in touch as I post new videos on a semi-regular basis. Since last time, I owe you all a really huge thank you. So thank you to each and every one of you who commented and who offered support and encouragement because of the big changes that are here at home. You're just all so lovely, and I knew that anyway, but you're all wonderful. So thank you so much for uplifting and encouraging, and just for your kindness and thoughtfulness at this time. I do want to reassure you, just in case it came across wrong on the previous video, that nothing bad has happened. We just have some house guests. They will be here for possibly quite a long time, and it's just a big change. It's not a bad change, it's just big. We're all making adjustments, getting to know one another, learning to live together, having a house full because Andrew is also back from university, and there's another adult and another child here as well. So we're bursting at the seams. We have rearranged the house and we are all just settling down and finding new ways and new routines. So as I said, nothing bad has happened, so please don't be thinking that. It's just a big change and it's going to take some time. So it's been a good couple of weeks, a busy couple of weeks, but I have managed to fight for some quiet time and some stitching time for sanity and for pure pleasure. So I do have a little bit of stitching to show you today. I also plan to address some of the questions that you submitted for the Q&A sessions, and I thought the way I would break this up is that today, after I've shown all my stitching, I will do the Q&A questions that are more personal, home, family related, those kind, and leave the stitching type questions and Flosstube questions until hopefully the next video, but certainly until another video, just to split it up because I am time constrained here. I have no idea how many minutes I will get before someone else walks through the thoroughfare that now is my kitchen. So I guess saying all of that just means that you have the opportunity to switch off a little bit later on if you don't want to stay around for the chat. But you have submitted quite a few questions, so I have a little bit to chat about later. Summer is creeping along here. We did have a heat wave in the UK. I know that it was reported worldwide as temperature records were broken across the UK. Here in Northern Ireland, it wasn't quite as severe for us, but we certainly did have temperatures that exceeded anything we normally would have. So somewhere in the 80s, 27 degrees Celsius it was here, 28 maybe. In London though, south of England and middle England, they were getting 40 plus, so it was really hot there. So I think we got off very lightly. It only lasted 4 or 5 days really, and then things have settled back into a kind of normal, unpredictable, changeable weather pattern for us here in Northern Ireland. But I'm quite happy with the milder temperatures. It is warm enough for me to be in a t-shirt, possibly a cardigan. I'm very happy with that. I'm not sweating it out every day, so that suits me just fine. I know that the sun lovers and the heat lovers would like a return of the heat wave, but I am just quite fine as it is. Thank you very much. So yes, all is good. Just to share with you a little love for a new Flosstube. I think there are 2 episodes out now. I have only watched the first because I am so behind with all sorts of Flosstube watching. but I did watch the first, and that is Sarah's Stitchy Spot. Now, all I really need to tell you about Sarah is that she was recommended by Brenda and Laura of Brenda and the Cereal Starter, so you know she's going to be good. It is a lovely first video. The one that I've watched is a lovely first video, a lovely introduction to Sarah. She's got her hubby involved, and he has created her a wonderful theme tune, and it's just fun to spend time listening to Sarah while I stitch. So if you'd like to hear the words of stitchy wisdom from another Sarah and see her beautiful projects, hop on over to Sarah's Stitchy Spot. I will link her down below. I also just want, before I move on, just want to remind Trudabeth that you have been drawn as the winner of the share for La Trappistine. This is going to be my last call for this one, Trudabeth. It's a few videos back now that you entered, and I haven't heard from you. I really, really would love to be able to pass this on to you. So if you can get in touch and drop me your mailing address, I will get this to you. If I don't hear from you in the next week or so, then I will redraw a name from those who entered for this. I will redraw that before my next video. So you've got about a week and a half to 2 weeks probably to get in touch with me, Trudabeth. I really would like to be able to send this to you, so please, please get in touch. So today I am going to show you what I have been working on, and because it has been very fluid and flexible in the house, it seems to have worked well for me to concentrate on just a few things and not hop about projects as much as I normally would. But I do have good progress on the things I did touch, so I want to share those with you. First of all, I have 2 FFOs. Last night I spent some time fully finishing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Now this is the Stitching with the Housewives pattern that you chose for me in the viewers poll to be my new start for Jolly July, and I finished it. I stitched this on a 20 count slate grey Ada, and I used 1 strand of thread, and I really enjoyed that actually. I had started with 2 strands, but it was just too thick. So 1 strand of thread on the 20 count slate grey Ada, and I think it came out really beautifully. Then this little board was a whole princely pound. It cost me in B&M. It says underneath it something about a home is not a home without a cat or something like that. Anyway, you'll see it on my Instagram if you are interested. The original, there's a picture on my Instagram of. So there's writing beneath this board, but the actual little board itself was just a pound, and I thought I will pick that up because I'm sure at some point in the future I could do something with it, and it worked really nicely for this. No fuss, just a little red star at the bottom and some like a checker, or yeah, is that checkered fabric? Like a tartan cross fabric. I think that's a fabric from one of Laurie Holt's older lines. So I just like to keep it nice and simple, and I'm really pleased with that. So thank you all so much for making this my Jolly July project, and I'm thrilled that it's a start and full finish within the month of July. My other fully finished piece is way out of my comfort zone, but it is the Halloween stitch of Beulah's Brew by Chrissy, finally a farm girl. Now, the original chart has a window up here, and on the window sill are some lotions and potions, and a black cat is sitting, and it's beautiful. But I decided to adapt the design because that bit is fairly full coverage, and I really wanted to get this one finished so that I have a chance to get it gifted. So I adapted the design simply by leaving out the window, and I extended these little bubbles that emanate from the cauldron. You just extend them upwards a little bit into the space. I got this frame in the range yesterday when I was over there, and when I was there I found some little autumn doodads and I was able to put them together to make this little pick. Now this little pick will come off. It is not attached permanently because I'm not entirely sure if my gift recipient will like it. I think I like it. But if she doesn't, then she can take that away and she doesn't have to have it there. But that is my finish of finally a Farm Girls Beulah's Brew. I think that this looks a bit like Beulah because she couldn't possibly be cooking that frog, could she? I think it looks like she's offering a day spa for the froggy. So Chrissy, I don't think Chrissy watches this at all, but Chrissy, if you're watching it, I think that Beulah is just the owner of a very fancy froggy day spa. And the frog is enjoying all the heat and the bubbles from his cauldron hot tub. So that is my fully finish of Beulah. And just to show you these little doodads, in case you are in the UK and are interested in the picks, they come in little packages like this. So there are 30 leaves in each of these packages. So there's some yellow and orange and some green and orange. And they have, these are the sort of toppers to look out for on the sign in the shop, on the sales points. And I found these near the dried flower arrangement, the false flowers, and they had some beautiful autumn wreaths starting to come in stock as well. So the leaves were there, and then also there was a little packet of berries, which was neater and tidier than this. And again, the same kind of branding on the top of that. And each of those packs was just 69p, so it really wasn't expensive at all. And that's why I thought I would have a go with them. And I think eventually, when I have some autumn stitches, probably not this year, but eventually I will be able to scatter those around the base of a dough bowl or a tray or a tiered tray or something, and some of these in as well, just to kind of as filler. So that's those. If you're in the UK and interested, they are available in the range. I have a finished object, not fully finished, but finished stitch. And it's not a Christmassy one, but I did say that I wanted to try and keep up with Heartfelt, the Fat Quarter Shop sale. And this is their charity sale for 2022, the proceeds of which, well, it's a free pattern, but they asked that you would make a donation to their charity drive, and the proceeds of that charity drive go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation in their area. I think it's in Texas, or maybe even more specifically local to the Fat Quarter Shop. So I made my donation. I got the pattern each month when it came out, and the last part of the pattern was released at the beginning of July, and I managed to get it stitched up. I really enjoyed this geometric design, and I am looking forward to doing something with it at some point. I think it'll probably become a panel in a project bag, but I think I'll hold on to it for a while and see, something else might strike me as a way to finish it. But I really enjoyed it. It was, as I said a number of times, a really nice sale to participate in, because each month you just got, well, the first month you got all the bordering, and then after that you just got one column to stitch. And for me, that was a really nice manageable size of the sale. Sometimes sales are broken up and they're huge. The amount of stitching you have to do every week or every month is huge. But this worked really well for me just at this point in time. So I have enjoyed the Heartfelt sale very much. And I love the Heartfelt Quilt as well, because Fat Quarter Shop usually, or certainly the last couple of years, have done a matching quilt and cross stitch as part of their charitable efforts. and the quilt is beautiful, so maybe one day if I ever get back to quilting. So in terms of getting this finished and in terms of quilting and all that jazz, it probably will be a long time before I get around to anything like that, because with all of the shenanigans here at home and the changes in our living accommodation and reworking the space that we have, I have had to renegotiate my sewing nook, which is that way. I've shown it before, and it's now really more a kind of office with a bit of sewing stuff thrown about the desk. So my sewing machines and other things have been packed away, and they are not accessible for the time being, just to make it possible for us all to live without utter chaos. So, but have no fear, I did not pack away my cross-stitch baskets. I just packed away the quilting, because there's never a time when this table is clear. I'm sitting at my dining table now, and it's currently covered in Flosstube props, but pretty much all day long they're just comings and goings with various meal times. So yeah, it has become chaos. So anyway, I will not be finding time to spread my quilting out for hours on end and get to that. So that will, just for this time, will take a back seat. And but there's no hardship in that, because I've got lots and lots of beautiful cross stitches to keep me busy in the meantime. The other stitch that I haven't managed to iron before I'm showing it to you, so I do apologise, but the other stitch that I worked on is a Kiss for Snowman, and that is this Dimensions kit. It's a gold collection petite. It's stitched on an 18 count 80, which is provided in the kit with the called for threads, and it is intense, but it's beautiful. Last time I showed you, I had this snowman's face and nose in, and I had some of the very darkest charcoal colouring in the beginnings of the ribbing of his hat. But now you can see I've worked up in that top quarter, and this is intense, I have to say, but I love it. I really love it. There are so many different thicknesses and textures of stitch. So some are your regular 2 strands full cross, some are 2 strands half cross, some are 3 strands half cross, some are 4 strands half cross. That is tight. That is very tight stitching. My fingers are sore after that. And it just adds so much texture. I am not going to be able to show it to you here, but I wish you could see the texture on the hat ribbing. It is fantastic. Now I know that the Dimensions kits maybe fallen out of popularity a little bit because of all of that, having to count and change your stitches and all of that business, but I'm really pleased that I have managed this one, and I look forward to doing some more. I'm not hopeful that it's going to be finished for this Christmas, but that really doesn't matter, because it's just about enjoying the stitching. So I think it's pretty much finished, possibly as far as about here. Oh, sorry, possibly as far as about here. And there's a wee bit more to fill in this bit. So, but this very top is that's all done, and this bit of his hat is complete as well. So that has been fun. I did think I would head downwards towards the little girl, but the hat striping just carried me up and on into the sky and those trees at the top corner. So that's good enough progress for me for Jolly July, and yep, happy with that. And then this week I picked up the Oh Holy Night Advent Calendar. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that this is my oldest whip from sometime back in 2006 when I purchased and started this. It's a Dimensions kit. It looks like this. It is a cross-stitched calendar, and these little emblems and little folk are stitched on plastic canvas, and they hang on the grid, this numerical grid that you can see for the Advent calendar. So my hope for this in Jolly July was that I would finish stitching the grid and get the Oh Holy Night wording in, which I did, and that I would also finish stitching all of the little ornament pieces on the plastic canvas and get them all back stitched. Now I haven't got that far yet, but I have made some progress, so I'll show you. So I have finished the grid, which isn't a huge amount of stitching, but it's a lot of counting. So there's a back stitch line to mark the grid, and then there's a cross stitch border all the way around it. And then I added in the 2 holly sprigs at the bottom corners and the wording Oh Holy Night. And the back stitch really brought the wording to life. It really, really did. So I am thrilled that I've got that bit finished. So the grid is done. I have not managed to stitch the final little ornament, but I have made progress, and I have finished about 3 or 4 of the back stitching on the other ornaments. So my needle is still on the back here because I've started working on this sheep earlier. So I think probably for the next few days, certainly the end of this week, it is my plan to keep going with this in a hope of getting as far as I can really with the back stitch and hopefully finalizing that one more ornament. So again, it's not going to be a finish for this year, but it wasn't really planned to be, and I'm just really delighted to be making progress, so that's good. I have had a little thought about the way forward with this, and I am wondering if maybe I will not add in this blue starry border. I'm wondering how this will look if I just have the inner part, the grid, and then the Advent sort of stable scene. So I don't know, I realise that the border part really does frame it nicely. That blue isn't part of my Christmas colour decor colouring, so I could live without it. And I could probably also live without having to stitch it all, but am I just being lazy? So what do you think? Are you going to tell me to give me marching orders to just get on with it? Or are you going to agree with me that I shouldn't do it? I don't know. I think what I'll do is stitch the scene first and then see what I think, and if it needs the border on, then I will do it. I mean, what's another 8 years? Who cares what age Charlotte will be when this is ready? I think she's going to love Christmas for her whole life, and it won't matter if she's a teenager when this is ready. Poor Andrew will probably be having his 30th birthday. Those of you who don't know, this was purchased with a view to stitching it for my son. I purchased it back in 2006 when he was 5, so he's now 20 and 21 coming, and yeah, it's nowhere near finished. So anyway, that is just a thought, and we'll see. Maybe I am just trying to speed the process along, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just do the chart as it is, but we'll see when the time comes. So that is it for my stitching. As I said, I hope to keep going with Oh Holy Night for the rest of this week and finish July out with the Jolly July stitching. In August, I plan to stitch a Fracture Love sampler, and that will be on the Funfair fabric that was gifted to me by Terry. And those of you who've been around for a little while this year will remember that we did a lot of chatting about how to use a fabric such as that, and we had a look at some monochromatic pattern ideas, and I have settled on a Fractal Love sampler. I'm only stitching the top part of it, the birds, and I'm really looking forward to making a start on that in August. I will then pick up another few whips, I hope. I really do hope. And I have plans for one other start, which I would like to be a gift that I would like to be finished by the end of the year. And that is an Emma Congdon pattern from her Cross Stitch for the Soul book. So I'm sorry, I am wobbling the table, and I realise I did it the whole way through the last video. So I'm sorry for those of you who I made dizzy. I will try to sit more still, not knock the table. But yes, that gift stitch is from the Emma Congdon's Cross Stitch for the Soul, and I look forward to sharing that with you. I really hope that I will be able to start that in August too. So those are my plans, and that is all of my stitching. So I think I did pretty well considering how busy life has been, and I'm just very happy that I have found time to keep up with the stitching, and that I found some time to come back and share with you as well. That's really important to me too. Before we move on to the Q&A, I have something else for plans that might be a good thing for you to make part of your plans, and that is the Stitch in London retreat, and it's hosted by Marie at Stitches and Diamonds. I hope that you all have been to see Marie. I did recommend her several times. She is the loveliest stitcher. She is also a representative of a cross stitch caterpillar. Caterpillar cross stitch. It's getting late. She is the Flosstube representative for Caterpillar Cross Stitch, and she's doing some lovely videos for them over on their channel too. But Marie is organising a retreat in London, it's just outside of London, this autumn. So UK stitchers especially, although anyone is welcome if you're prepared to travel to London, but UK stitchers especially, this is your opportunity to get to a retreat and to meet faces and folk who share your passion. So this retreat is on the 14th, that's Friday the 14th of October until Sunday the 16th of October. It runs from 10 AM Friday until noon on Sunday, and it is in, oh I know I forget, but I think it's a Holiday Inn in Watford. But anyway, all of the details are on Marie's Instagram bio. If you go to her Instagram and click on her name at Stitches and Diamonds, and in her bio there's a linktree link, and when you go to the linktree link there will be another button for information on the retreat. It's a superbly priced retreat for being where it is in London. The price is less than £120, and that is for access to the stitching room for all of those days. Your accommodation and meals are not included, but that allows you to choose and set the budget for whatever price accommodation or meals you want to, whether you're going to travel in or whether you're actually going to stay in a hotel. I wish I could go, Marie. I'm sorry that I can't join you. It is term time and I have a job at the school, so I cannot have leave over school dates. So I wouldn't be able to join you from Northern Ireland and make enough time at the weekend. But maybe another year there will be an opportunity for us to be together. And I'm so jealous of all of you who will be going. I saw Michelle at Mama Loves You GB has booked her place today. She announced that on Instagram. And yeah, I am going to be green with envy and watching with great anticipation. I love Marie and I think she will do a fabulous job arranging this retreat and making it everything you would want it to be, because her heart is in the right place and she wants to create those opportunities for us here in the UK. So if you're interested, pop over to Marie's Instagram page, click on her bio and go to her link tree and you will get all of the information there. So Now, let's have a little chat. Now, a few videos back, I asked you if you had any interest at all in submitting some Q&A questions, and many of you did. So as I said earlier, I have split those questions into two broad categories. The first is sort of the personal questions, home and family questions. And then there's another batch which are more stitching, planning, Flosstube related, that kind of thing. So I'm going to leave that second set to another time. And today, well, it's actually tonight because it's already 8:30 here. But tonight I'm going to have a little chat with you and answer your questions about my personal life and home and family. So grab yourself a cuppa, pick up your stitching and settle in. And if you're really not interested, I completely understand. And I hope that you'll come back and join us on the next video for some more stitchy related chat. But if you're going to stay, get yourself a wee cup of tea, because you know, I like to talk. So the very first question that I'm going to answer is about the Singer 99K in the background. Jean T said she would like to know a little bit more about its story. So Jean, I'm really sorry, but I don't know very much about this machine. Unfortunately, it's not been handed down through my family. It doesn't have a lovely family history to go with it that I'm aware of. I'm sure that the machine itself has a history, and I myself am curious to know where it lived and what it might have stitched in its time and everything else, but I don't know. I saw it on a site that my friend had been looking at, and she had got restored, that's the word, thank you, a restored machine. She had got this restored machine through this Instagram site, this Instagram seller who's very reputable. Unfortunately, I don't think that she's still around, but she did a beautiful, beautiful job of restoring my friend's machine. And then I saw this one come up on her feed and I thought, oh yes, I love it, I love it, I love it so much. And it really is decorative. Its purpose here is decorative. I did convince Alan to purchase it for me that year that I spotted it. I convinced him to purchase it for me for Christmas. I saw it in July. I ordered it. It came in the post and it was superbly packaged, really superbly packaged. I opened it then when it arrived at late July, August time, and checked that everything was as it should be and that there was nothing wrong with it. I knew that I would have to wrap it back up again and not be allowed to touch it until December, and that was heartbreaking. But I did get it in December for my Christmas present that year. And I determined, when she did arrive in the house, I determined that I would sew with her, that she wouldn't just be decorative her whole life here, but that I would make at least one quilt top on her and maybe a couple of small projects. So I made a few zippy pouches and I made one quilt on her, one quilt top. So the quilt that I made is this one. I can't remember if I've shown this to you before, but the quilt that I made is this Around the World quilt, and I made it from Bonnie and Camille fabrics. And I know that you can't really see it very well here because I just don't have the space to display quilts well on video, but I will insert a picture of the finished quilt. Now, she was completely pieced on this Singer 99K hand crank machine, so I was cranking and cranking and cranking for a long time, and it beautifully stitched, absolutely beautifully stitched. Now she is quilted on my regular machine, my regular I think it was the Faff that I quilted her on, not on the Singer. But I absolutely love this quilt, and I am so delighted that I made a quilt with the Singer. She is a 1939 model. I don't know if you know this, but if you have a Singer, there's a little plate on her with a serial number, and you can look it up online and find out the year of manufacture of your machine. So this is a 1939 Singer 99K hand cranked machine. And as I said, she's been beautifully restored, and I just love having her there as part of the decoration of my home. So I wish there was a little bit more of an interesting history, but I tried to give her some by making a quilt on her in the year probably 2016, 2017, something like that. So there's still lots of life in her, and maybe one day I will stitch a little bit more on her. We'll see. Actually, I might take to her to do some finishing, given that my other machines are packed in storage, because she sat there and she is perfectly capable of doing some of the stitching that would do my finishing. So that is an idea. I must bear that one in mind. So there you go, Jean. That is the Singer 99K. Julie McLean asked about my family, and she asked about my mum and dad and did I have siblings and all the rest of it. So yes, I have a brother and I have mum and dad, and there were the four of us. So there's just me and my brother. And we grew up in a little town in Northern Ireland called Newtownards. So Newtownards is the pronunciation, but it's spelled Newtownards. We lived on the Ards Peninsula, and I will insert here the peninsula, right at the top of the loch that is in the peninsula, and that is Strangford Loch. Right at the top of the loch sits a town called Newtownards. And in the early 80s, in the late 70s, early 80s, Newtownards was really being expanded. It was a market town, a small market town. It was being expanded as a satellite town from Belfast, from the capital city. And lots of young families were moving out. Some were moving out to get away from the troubles of Northern Ireland, from the troubles of the city. And others were just moving out, just moving away from family, just moving out because the satellite towns were growing at that time. The Ards Peninsula is a very beautiful area. It has a lot of history. There are some abbey ruins. There's this sort of saints and scholars history with monks and religion, and there's a Viking history because the Vikings came up Strangford Loch and invaded, and right at the top of the loch there's a hill and which overlooks Newtownards, and it's called Scrabo Hill, and on the top of Scrabo Hill is Scrabo Tower. It's quite iconic. It makes me think of home because that's where I grew up. Every time I see it I think of home. And it was actually it's not ancient. I think it was the 1850s or something it was built, so it's not an ancient tower, but it was built as a memorial in commemoration of a Marquess of Londonderry, so a landowner in the area. But it has just got such iconic appeal, and when you're travelling back and forward from Belfast and you come over the hills, the back way over the hills, and you see the tower, then I always felt like I was coming home into Newtownards. So Newtownards is where I grew up and went to school. There was mum and dad and my brother and me. This is us back in the 80s. This photograph's actually taken on a summer holiday at Myrtle Beach. My mum's sister emigrated to the States and lives in the States, and we went on holidays to visit her. She lived in Muncie, Indiana. But when we were on holiday with her at her house, then they took their holidays and went to Myrtle Beach and took us along with them. So that was a lot of fun. I have good memories of that time. But yes, that is us in the 80s. And then the other picture is my mum and dad, just, I guess, maybe 10 years ago. So yes, there were the four of us, mum and dad and my brother and me. I'm older than him. So sadly, Mum isn't with us anymore, and I wish every day that she was. It's been 4 years, and I wish that she were still very much a part of my life, but she isn't, sadly. Dad is well. He is, he's healthy. He's got just older people issues, but nothing serious. He's fully compos mentis, and he is a great dad and a great grandfather to Charlotte. We see him as often as we can, which isn't as much as it should be, I know, but he comes over and joins us for Sunday dinner. And I think that Dad's only biggest issue really is that he misses Mum, and life without Mum is hard. So we see him, and I have my brother, and he has 4 beautiful daughters, and I don't see them nearly enough. Everybody's life is just really busy, and my brother's life in particular just takes him in a different direction from ours. So he doesn't live very far away, and we do see each other at bigger family gatherings, Christmas and such. But given that we live quite close, we probably should see each other more, but just don't. But he is he's dad to 4 girls, and they keep him busy. So that is my little family, where I came from anyway, and growing up in Newton Arms. So Linda asked, where do I live in Ireland now? And I live in a little place called Annahilt, and it is really just a crossroads. Is not a town, or it's not even a village. It's a crossroads with a convenience store, and it has a school, a primary school, and it has a care home. And other than that, it's just housing that has grown up over the last 10, 12 years, I guess. Or, well, no, that's not true. Over the last 20 years, I keep forgetting how long we've been here. So it is out in the countryside. We are 10 minutes, I would say, from civilization, and 20 minutes from bigger civilization. So it's out in the sticks without being too far out, and we love it here and enjoy it here. Linda also asked what my favourite memory of growing up in Ireland is, and I have to be honest and say I'm not sure I could think of something very specific, Linda. But if you have a look at the photographs again of my family, you see the black and white one at the bottom. That is my mum and all of her brothers and sisters when they were little. So my mum is one of 9, and that makes for a very big family with lots of cousins. So I think that is probably my favourite memory of growing up, is having lots of family always around. Of course, as everybody gets older and bigger and goes their own way, that spreads out a little bit, but we do still have some very large family gatherings from time to time. And yeah, I think that is probably my favourite. Teresa and Lucy both submitted questions that asked if I would share a little bit more about Northern Ireland, and maybe share some more videos of the area. So I know if you don't know, then back in the early days of my videos, maybe somewhere in the first 3 or 4 videos, I do have little picture clips of where I live, of Hillsborough, which is the nearest village to where I am here in Annahilt. And I show some pictures of that. I show some pictures of an area called Murlough Bay, which is a protected natural reserve close to the Mourne Mountains here in County Down in Northern Ireland. So you could go back and check those out if you would like to know a little bit more. But Teresa and Lucy said that they would like to see some more, so perhaps they've already seen those. So thank you for being interested. I'm sorry that I haven't shown much more, and I'm going to be really honest with you and say that I don't get out much. So life with Charlotte is very routine. We go to the same places all the time. We can't travel too far because she can't manage that in the car, this kind of thing. So I don't always get to lots of places, but I promise you that if I am somewhere that I can take some photos and share more of Northern Ireland with you, I will. I have not been very good at that this year because it's been a really busy year, but I'm hoping that over time there will be other places that I could take some photographs and share with you. We do have some beautiful National Trust properties here in Northern Ireland, with beautiful grounds and gardens, and there are other naturally beautiful places that I would like to be able to share with you. So I will do my best. I'm sorry that I haven't got something more to share with you more often, but if there's an opportunity, I will try to share that with you guys. Thank you for being interested. Teresa was even interested in the possibility of seeing my garden, and I'm laughing because, Teresa, it's a square of grass and there's a holly tree at the back corner, and that's about it really. It's not even good grass. And in the front we have a tiny little plot sometimes with beautiful peonies, but they got squashed by the rain this year again. And I have 2 lovely trees in the front garden, but again it's a teeny tiny patch of grass with 2 trees and a couple of peonies. So I am not Priscilla Blaine. Let's just say that isn't me. You're not going to have a garden tour. It wouldn't take very long. So thanks for being interested anyway, Teresa. So yeah. Once upon a time, now let me tell you, once upon a time I did have lots and lots of pot gardening going on. When Andrew was little, so I've just told you Andrew's 20 now, but when he was little, when he was 4 or 5, we used to go out and we'd plant rhubarb and peas and strawberries and lilies and all kinds of other things in pots, and we had lots of pots, and we would go outside and tend to those pots. It was part of our activities, keeping him busy and engaging him and educating him, all of that. I wish I could try that again with Charlotte. I'm not terribly green-fingered, but I could make some of it happen. I wish I could try it with Charlotte, but the truth is, if you tried to do that with Charlotte, she would be ripping out what you're putting in. She wouldn't stay with you. So when I took Andrew out, we would stay together. We would put soil in the pots. We would put the little plants and plugs in the pots. We would water the pots. He would tootle back and forward with me. If I take Charlotte out there, she just runs. She goes, and I can't catch her. So, unfortunately, unfortunately, these things just don't work with her. So that is a shame, but that's life. Each child is different, and she is super different. So no more plant and container gardening for me, at least not at this point in my life. So, Sarah Ward has asked if the area that I live in is famous for anything here in Northern Ireland. So, I don't think it's particularly famous. Hillsborough, the town that I was talking about, it's really a village, and it was recently given royal status. So, that is probably the most famous connection that it has, is that the Queen's residence in Northern Ireland is in Hillsborough, and it's called Hillsborough Castle, and it's part of the royal palaces. So it's very pretty, beautiful gardens. It is open now to the public. For many, many years it wasn't. It was probably more of a security issue here in Northern Ireland, but now it is part of historic royal palaces and it can be visited. And they have done a lot of work in the last few years to make the visitor amenities there much, much better. So one of these days I would like to revisit, because it's been a very long time since I was there, but you know how it is with things on your doorstep, you don't always get to go. So we do see it as we go up and down the village, and you can see a couple of photos of that in the earlier videos that I was talking about, if you are interested and haven't seen those before. The area in general, the nearest big town is called Lisburn. It was made a city a number of years ago, but it's really it's a big town, a very small city. But the Lisburn area would have been known in the past for linen making, and it's a real shame that heritage kind of died off. We don't have very much Ulster linen anymore. I know that sometimes there are artisans who try to revive it and costumiers who try to revive it, but sadly the linen, the whole process and the whole history has gone. It's moved to other countries, and we lost that here in Ireland as a whole, but particularly here in the north we lost it. But that would be what the heritage was from this area. So nothing else spectacularly famous that I can think of, Sarah, so I hope that's not too disappointing. Sarah has asked some questions about my favourites. So she asked about my favourite colour and my favourite food. And Lisa in Stitches has followed that up with a hilariously long list of questions about things that include many of my favourites. So I'm going to have a little chat about those things in a moment. But first, I just want to explain about favourites. I am rubbish at favourites. As soon as somebody says, what's your favourite book, food, whatever, it goes out of my head, and I'm like caught in the headlights and I don't know what to answer. Part of the reason for that is I like many and varied things, and I don't always have a very strong preference. I don't, in fact, have favourites of many things. So if some of these answers will be a bit vague and waffly, I do apologise, but I'm going to do my best to answer them for you anyway. So, first of all, Lisa, I'll just deal with a couple of questions that Lisa asked, which are a bit more general. So Lisa asked, how did I meet my husband? So you've heard me talk about Alan, and around St. Patrick's Day this year, you have possibly seen Alan as he played us a little melody on his Irish penny whistle. So Alan and I have known each other for many, many years, since childhood, in fact. His family and my family went to the same church in Newton Ards, and he is 4 years older than me. And when you're 8 and he's 12, that makes a really big difference. So yeah, that 4 years makes a difference when you're children. And he and his brother were like wild boys. And or they certainly seemed that to me, but then I was just a goody two shoes. So they were like the big bad Elwood boys, and they just disrupted things, and they were a bit like my own brother, but they were bigger and older and could do it better. So that is how long we have known each other. When I was a teenager, when I was 13 or 14, I went along to our youth fellowship at the church. And it was the first time probably ever that we'd been in the same group together. So previous to that, he was always in an older group, an older Bible class, an older Sunday school class, whatever, from me. But once I went to youth fellowship, we were together in the same group of teenagers, even though he was a much older teenager, and in fact, one of the young adult leaders at that time. So my first night at the youth fellowship, I got planted with a football smack in the middle of my face and got a bit stunned. And I think something happened in my brain that night, and the wheels were all set in motion for the future. So yeah, he kicked the football and it plonked me right smack bang in the middle of the face. And he was very apologetic and very sweet about it. And we became friends just in the group generally of teenagers, and over the years we became more friendly. We had a big group of friends. Some of those friends went away to university. We kind of stayed in Northern Ireland, and we were there, and so we had an opportunity just to get to know each other better. And then when I was 16, we started to date, and that was a very odd transition from being friends to being boyfriend and girlfriend, but we managed it. And very shortly after we started dating, Alan decided he was going to go to university, and he went away. So we'd only just started, but he went away. But part of the deal had been that that because when we started to date, we knew he was going away, and part of the deal was that we would at least try to make it work, because I didn't see any point in us starting something that was just going to disappear the minute that he went away. So we did have a kind of long distance relationship for about 6 years, really, through his university, and then he took some jobs in England after he graduated, and really our relationship was based a lot on the Royal Mail. We wrote letters to each other, pre-emails and pre-texting. We had weekly phone calls if we could, and then summer holidays and maybe Christmas holidays and that as well. So it was a very lovely period of my life. It was a tricky period, it was, you know, but it was all formative, and we stayed the course, and we got engaged, got married, and kind of the rest is history. And this year we will be 25 years married. So I think we've weathered a lot together, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So that is how we met and how long we've been together. So you can see from the editing that it's getting darker and darker. I have been interrupted. Everybody has come home at different times to have their dinner and then to get a cup of tea, and so I've made many pauses. Anyway, back to the questions. Lisa asked, what was I like at high school or at college? So I don't think it's going to come as a massive surprise to any of you, but in high school and college, I was a studious square. I was nerdy, geeky, studious girl. So in my later teenage years, I began to become much more introverted than I had been as a younger child. And I studied a lot, and I had bad hair. So there were a number of bad 80s hairstyles. One was the corkscrew perm, which like sat out to here in a triangle. Then I got some layers put into it, and it was much, much nicer. But I'm pretty glad there's very much a lack of photographs of that period of my life, and I can't say that I'm terribly sorry about it. So yeah, that's what I was like at school. At university, I was much the same, although I became much, much more introverted at university. I didn't integrate well at university. I mean, I had friends and I was friendly and I chatted, but I didn't live on campus. I didn't live in the university area. I lived at home, and I travelled in every day by the bus. And I do think that while that was what I wanted, I do think it made a difference to being able to integrate at university and into the lifestyle there, because I was always trying to beat the last bus home, and the last buses were not late. So and I also had a part-time job at home, so I would come home for that in order to have the money to be able to go to the university. So my overarching memory of university is one of being wet. That's because I got 2 buses, and then I had a half-an-hour walk, and it just seemed to perpetually rain. I think my whole university career was just rain. Here's a picture of Queen's University Belfast, and it's very beautiful buildings. And this is where I studied at university, and I studied English literature. This main building is called the Lanyon Building and is one of the main areas of university, but there are many other area teaching blocks across that particular area of the city that belong to the university, and there's a rows of houses around there in which the different university schools, like the School of English and the School of Modern Languages and the School of Ancient Languages, where they have their offices and their rooms, and that's where their tutors live, that's where you go for tutorials. And so in all of those buildings and all of those houses, I just remember that after my half-an-hour walk through the rain, I would sit and steam in those and be wet in those places, because nowhere ever had any heat on and it was just cold and wet. So that sadly is my lasting impression of being at university. I do have some some fun memories too, but I have to say most of them are just involved being cold and wet and miserable. So anyway, that's a little bit about me at school and at university. So back to the favourites. So Lisa and Sarah asked some favourites, and so did Jenny of Jenny Stitching Simply. So here are some of my favourites. And before I tell you, I don't want you making any kind of observations. Those of you who have psychology degrees, psychiatry degrees, you're not allowed to assume anything or extrapolate anything from my answers, okay? I already know what an odd fish I am, so let's just leave it at that, all right? So, Sarah said, what is your favourite colour? And my favourite colour is red, and it always has been. And if I had access to photographs, which I just don't because, as I said, we had to put a lot of stuff away in storage, but there is a photo of me as a little girl with a little red dress on, and it's a little red kind of woolen dress. It's not particularly pretty, it's very functional, but I think I thought of it as my Red Riding Hood dress. And between that dress and the hankering for red shoes my whole life, red has been my favourite colour. In my quilting, I absolutely adore red and white quilts, and it really is about time that I did a red stitch. I have several planned and kitted, so I have at least 2 or 3 modern folk embroidery stitches kitted to do in red threads. But very strangely, very oddly, in this last couple of years since I came back to cross stitch, I haven't stitched in the red. Now I do know the reason for that in part. And in part it's to do with the fact that a couple of years ago, when we were going to move house but didn't and redecorated, you may have heard that story before, we redecorated the house, and I had previously had lots of red in my decor, but now don't. So just to have a complete change from what went before, I don't have the red around the house quite so much. So that is one of the reasons I've been stitching things to go with the new decor, and red really isn't the main feature. But red will work with my decor in diluted areas. So I am going to stitch some red samplers or red pieces hopefully soon. I did want them to be part of 2022 stitching. Realistically, they're probably going to be part of 2023, but we'll see. But yes, red is my favourite colour. My favourite food is lasagna. Back in the 80s when lasagna was first introduced, it was like a wonder food in Northern Ireland. We'd never seen anything quite so exotic, and the best thing about it was you couldn't serve it in a basket. I don't know about where you live, but in the 1980s there was a big trend to serve food in a basket. So you could get chicken and chips in a basket, or scampi and chips in a basket. So yeah, you couldn't serve lasagna in a basket, and that had to be a plus, because really I don't think anybody should be eating out of a basket unless it's a picnic. So yeah, lasagna is my favourite food. My favourite music, well, I like all sorts of music. So this is one where I don't have a favourite to plump for. I like 80s pop and 90s pop. I like classical music. I like some chamber music. I love a good ballad. I think that probably that is my favourite. I love a good ballad. I love a Whitney Houston ballad. I love a Michael Bublé ballad. I just love a good ballad in general. And because of that, I do have a penchant for some country music as well. So my dad is a big country music fan, so I grew up with some country music, and I wouldn't claim to be a die-hard fan, no, but it is very much a part of my growing up and my lifestyle, and I know a lot more words than I might want to admit at times to country songs. And I also love some of the newer country acts, not that I'm very up to date with these things, but Lady Antebellum, for example, would be quite a big favourite of mine as well. Although it must be said that since having Charlotte, we only get to listen to nursery rhymes, so you know, my musical my musical etiquette isn't quite what it used to be. But yeah, I love a good ballad. Lisa asked, am I a night owl or an early bird? Well, I'm an early bird, definitely not a night owl. I don't get a chance to get up and at it as early as I used to. Charlotte is up and at it early, but I would like to be up and at the day even before that, but I can't now because you risk wakening her, and once you waken her you have to deal with her for the rest of the day 100%. So we just take it a little bit easier, but I'm definitely not a night person. I am definitely a morning person. Coffee or tea, she asks. Well, I drink both. I like both, and I go through phases where one would be more popular than the other. Currently, I'm having a preference for coffee. That's probably because I'm not drinking out a lot. When I drink out more, I drink tea. And that's because I find the coffee out is just too strong, too bitter for me. So, and also these days, being this age, I am on decaf everything, and I don't really enjoy the decaf as much as regular coffee, so it's not always the most pleasant. Anyway, that's it. Sometimes coffee, sometimes tea. Lisa also asked who my teen celebrity crush was. So there's a list. My very first celebrity crush, I was about 11 or 12, and that was Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. That waistcoat, that puffer jacket thing that he wore, you know, he was just so cool. I don't know. He was the guy next door, and I liked that kind of look. So yes, there was Michael J. Fox, and then there were some of the Brat Pack as they became known, so Rob Lowe and Jason Bateman. And then here in the UK we had a boy band called Bros, and it was twin singers. They were the lead singers, and they had a guitarist. See, I'm not even very loyal. I think he was a guitarist called Craig, and it was Craig who was on my pin-up wall. So yeah, and another singer called Marty Pellow, who was the lead singer of a band called Wet Wet Wet. And you might know them because they sang Love Is All Around Us from Four Weddings and a Funeral. So that's how some of you who mightn't otherwise know them would know of Wet Wet Wet. So yeah, those were some of my teen celebrity crushes. She then asked who my current celebrity crush is. And I've got to be honest and say I watch so little of anything current that I am just not sure who I would answer. I watch so much more Flosstube now than I do of regular television that I might have to plump for a Flosstuber. So let's say that my current celebrity Flosstube crush is Chris Stitch. I'm sure Chris would be delighted to know that. Don't tell him, he might never watch my channel again. Lisa asks if I could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? I am a home bird, so if I can be anywhere in the world, it's at home. And that's not a very exciting answer, I know. So I am not a traveller, and I am overwhelmed by new places and big experiences. I absolutely adore the English Lake District, and that is probably, if you said to me you have to choose somewhere and you can just go and be there for the rest of forever, then that's where I would love to be, is in the English Lake District. Hubby and I did visit Rome for our 10th wedding anniversary, and well, it was kind of just after, it was in the spring after our 10th wedding anniversary, but it was for that celebration. And I absolutely loved Rome. It was beautiful, and he was fascinated by it because he's a big Roman history buff. But I thought it was wonderful, even though it scared me because cities do scare me, but I thought it was amazing. Rome was amazing. It was beautiful. And I just loved being there. And we have always said that we would like to go back sometime, but who knows if that's going to be able to happen or not. But you know, maybe one day, maybe one day. So the last favourite that Lisa asked about is my favourite movie. So I brought a couple to show you. I like, again, different types of movies and different things. So I'll give you a chuckle as you see what some of my favourites are. I love The Colour Purple. I love the book as well. I love this film adaptation of the book. I think it's really largely very faithful, and I think Whoopi Goldberg and the other actors and actresses in this are amazing. So I love The Colour Purple. And then I love this, which is called The Slipper and the Rose. If you haven't seen it, you've missed out. It's the story of Cinderella, as you can see. It's Richard Chamberlain and Gemma Craven, and it's a version of a Cinderella story, and it's a musical, and it's every year I watch it, I think really it's more and more twee, but I loved it. And I think a lot of why I love this movie is that it has to do with me and my mum. My mum and I watched this on, like, I suppose today you would call it a girly afternoon with your mum, but it was just me and her in the house, and we would watch this, and we would watch The Sound of Music together as well. So that would also be a favourite. But The Slipper and the Rose, and I know an awful lot of the words to this as well, the music in this. And then an absolute classic, The Muppets Christmas Carol. Loved, my favourite Christmas movie ever. So those are some of my favourite movies. Yeah. I also love to watch a good adaptation of a novel, of a classic novel. So I love things like Bleak House and Pride and Prejudice, the BBC drama versions in the late 90s, early noughties were fantastic. Budgets were obviously better then because there aren't so many good ones now, but I do love those. So that was the end of Lisa's list, although she assures me that she has more questions for a future time. So I hope I answered those okay, Lisa, and Sarah as well. Jenny has the last question of this section of Q&A, and Jenny asks about what my favourite book and favourite author is. So again, tied in with my love of literature from a degree which does feel like a lifetime ago. It's not a degree I have used in my career or anything like that, so sadly. But you know, I love Jane Austen, I love Dickens. Not that I've read a lot of Dickens actually, but so I do love Bleak House. It's one of my favourites. Humongous, teeny tiny writing book. All about Chancery and the courts and the futility of chasing a claim through the courts, really. But it's the interweaving of characters' lives and the deftness with which Dickens does that, and the deftness with which he characterises people that I absolutely loved. Read this one at university. It was one of the best of the books that I read while I was at Queen's. I also love Emma. I think this is possibly my favourite book ever. Possibly, if you really ask me to push it and say I was only allowed one favourite, it's probably Emma. She irritates the life out of me, but I love her anyway. And there have been some fabulous film adaptations of this. There was I think actually it was an ITV, which is our other main channel, or was our other main channel here in the UK. I think it was an ITV adaptation of Emma that I loved the most. And just all of that society and etiquette and manners and the wittiness in this Jane Austen in particular. I think the wittiness just really tickled me. So yeah, probably Emma is my very favourite ever. I also love Frankenstein. I think this has a lot to say about the creator and the created. And I always felt that it was a very touching read when I when I read it. I haven't read it for a number of years again actually, but it's probably due a reread at some stage. Sadly, I don't read as much as I would like to anymore, and that's mainly because I read 3 pages and then I'm asleep. So I think it might be an age thing. But one of my very favourite authors at the moment is Anne Patchett. I was introduced to Anne by a very good friend, and she has written a number of books that I've read. I don't keep all of my books simply because I don't have the storage space for them, but this one I kept because it has a lovely hardback copy called The Dutch House. It's worth a read. If you like stories that don't really go anywhere, and that sounds like a funny thing to say, but the Anne Patchett books that I have read are mainly brilliant in their observations of people and their interactions with one another, and just the little things they say and the little things that matter, rather than a big plot line, as it were. And I have really loved it. My favourite was a book called Run, and it's about interweaving again of people's lives and how it's just the so succinct, her observations of people and of character. So I really love it. At the moment I'm reading this one, which is I believe her most recent publication, called These Precious Days, and this is a series of short stories, some of them true, and again just fascinating. She writes about her 3 dads because she's had 3 fathers in her life with remarriages and things like that, and just even that, and how she describes each person, each of those men very differently, and the impact they had. And she's just a very, very observant person, and I really enjoy reading what she has to write. So those are some of my favourite authors, some of my favourite books, and yeah, I don't know what all of that infers about me, but maybe don't look too closely at it, okay? And just remember that you liked me for my stitching. So next time, I hope that I will be able to answer the questions that you had about stitching and Flosstube and planning. So I hope that maybe you know a little bit more about me. I hope that I've answered those questions okay for you. I hope it wasn't too boring. I am not a supercharged, exciting person, but you already know that. So if you're here, then you know. And if you are here, then I think you deserve a little opportunity for being a stalwart and for hanging in there. So I have a giveaway opportunity for you today. This is really my 3,000 subscriber giveaway, which I missed a couple of weeks ago, I think. It almost coincided with my Flossiversary, but I wasn't quite there, and then a couple of weeks later I missed it and forgot. So anyway, picking up on it now, thank you so much to all of you who subscribe, who watch faithfully and loyally, and thank you for pushing those numbers up a little bit. Not that the numbers matter, because what really matters to me is the communication, but it's still fun to celebrate and to be able to offer you something. So what I'm offering tonight are 2 opportunities to win. First, they're both charts by Deb at Frog Cottage Designs, and they've been chosen for a particular reason. So the first is Kindness Matters, and the second is Thankful. So one of each of these charts will be emailed to a lucky winner. And I chose these because A, I love them, I think they're beautifully designed, but B, I am really thankful for you and for this community, and you all mean more to me than I can even tell you. Your comments, the fact that you engage with me, it just lifts my spirits, and it makes me feel included and part of a community that I wouldn't otherwise even know about or be able to belong to. And kindness matters. I have met with so much kindness from this community, and it does matter. It makes a difference, and I hope that I'm able to share some of that kindness back again to you. So, kindness matters and thankful. Okay, if you would like a chance to win one of these charts, which will be a PDF win, okay, I have spoken to Deb at Frog Cottage Designs, and when I have winners, Deb is going to email you a PDF copy of the chart. If you would like thankful, please just write thankful in your comment. And if you would like kindness matters, use the word kindness in your comment. Please be over 18 to enter this giveaway so that I can ask for your details. I will be asking for an email address on this occasion, and you need to be happy that I will share that email address with Deb. She will just use it to send you a chart directly to your email address when I tell her who has won. Please just don't use any of the trigger words in your comments either. Don't use giveaway or win or prize or anything like that. Mostly none of you ever do, so thank you for that. It keeps the trolls away and it keeps the prizes going to the right people. So yes, so be over 18, be a subscriber, be happy for me to share your email address, and don't use the trigger words. And this is open to anyone who would like an opportunity to win these gorgeous designs by Deb. They are lovely. I have started this one but didn't get terribly far, and this one obviously is part of my stash. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Deb will bring out for Expo. I know there's lots and lots to come our way later next month. So Deb tells me she's been working on Expo, so it'll be interesting to see what she has coming next. If you haven't had a look at Deb's designs before, do pop over to her website. It's Frog Cottage Designs. I'll link it below, and you could have a wee look and see. And just remember, when you are looking at the dollar price of these designs, they're not expensive. They're just Australian dollars, so it looks a little bit more hefty than you might be expecting. But they're very reasonably priced charts. They're not expensive, and they are beautiful. So do yourself a favor and hop over there and say hi to Deb. So, I think that's probably it. I think you all deserve an opportunity to go off and regroup, refresh, and replenish yourselves. And so until I see you again, please be sure to stay well and stitch happy.